The story begins under a soft drizzle in Nairobi. Raindrops slide down a tall glass window, and behind it sits Amara Kilonzo, a young black African woman in her late 20s, dressed sharply in a modern black suit. Her gaze is distant, haunted by memories that never fade. As the faint sound of thunder rolls, her voice breaks the silence, calm but filled with old pain. When I was 2 years old, my father walked out of our tiny apartment. He promised he'd come back, but he never did. Now, 26 years later, Amara is the proud CEO of one of Africa's most successful tech companies, valued at over $200 million. The world calls her a genius, a symbol of success, a modern African inspiration. But behind every camera flash and confident speech hides a heart that still bleeds quietly. Her success was carved from sacrifice and loneliness, built on the memory of a mother who gave everything she had. Her mother, Grace Kilonzo, was a strong woman. She sold vegetables in the market, washed clothes for others, and every night she whispered, "One day, my child, they'll know your name." Grace raised her with nothing but determination and love. As Amara stands before a sea of reporters at a press conference, announcing a scholarship program for young African girls, the air is full of applause. Cameras flash, microphones point, and her smile is radiant. But just as she steps down from the podium, her assistant rushes toward her, her face pale. "Madame," she whispers nervously, "there's a man outside." He says, "He's your father." For a moment, time freezes. The background noise fades. The world around Amara blurs into silence. Her heartbeat quickens. Her breath catches. She turns slowly, her voice trembling. "What did you just say?" Outside, under the soft rain, a man stands waiting. His clothes are worn, his shoes dusty, his face older but vaguely familiar. His eyes, tired yet gentle, lock on hers as he whispers, "My baby girl, you've grown so much." Amara's lips tighten, her voice turns cold. "Don't call me that." The tension in the air is sharp enough to cut. The man introduces himself as Paul Kilonzo, her father, the man who left them behind decades ago. He claims he's come back to make things right, and more disturbingly, to discuss family property rights. Amara lets out a bitter laugh. "Family? You mean the family you abandoned when I couldn't even walk?" The man lowers his eyes, shame spreading across his weathered face. "I made mistakes," he says weakly. "But I'm still your father." The law says. She cuts him off sharply. "The law didn't raise me. My mother did. And she's gone now." Behind her, a large portrait of her mother hangs in the lobby, smiling, holding baby Amara. The man glances at it, his expression cracking with regret. The camera of memory drifts back to a time long gone, a small room, laughter, then silence. Amara's narration echoes softly. "I remember the nights Mama went hungry so I could eat. The mornings she prayed for rain, and the evenings she whispered his name into the wind." An old African proverb plays through her mind. A child abandoned learns to carry two hearts, one that loves and one that guards. Grace had died when Amara was just 18. Before she passed, she left behind a single letter that read, "Forgive him only when your soul is free, not when he demands it." Those words became Amara's shield, her reason for silence. But now the man who once built another life, another family, stood in front of her, asking for forgiveness, and half of what she had built alone. Within hours, the news spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's estranged father returns, demands expands, share of $200 million fortune." Social media went mad. Hashtags like "absent father" trended for days. Some pitied her, others mocked her. She should forgive him. He's just back for money. Family is family. Amara scrolled through thousands of comments, each one slicing her deeper. Her PR manager, Lydia, begged her to issue a statement. "We can't let this damage your image." Lydia said softly, "Say something neutral. Maybe forgiveness." Amara took a deep breath, eyes cold but steady. "Tell them this. I don't speak for the past. I build the future." Days later, she received a letter. Not an email, an actual handwritten letter in shaky script. It read, "Meet me at the house where you were born. I need to show you something before it's too late." Her heart hesitated. Curiosity burned against anger. The next morning, She drove down to the old neighborhood. Dusty roads, tin roofs, jacaranda trees blooming purple. The same world she once escaped. There he was, standing outside a crumbling house, holding a small wooden box. His eyes were watery, his hands trembling. Inside the box were old photographs, a picture of baby Amara, a faded wedding ring, and a folded letter. "I never wanted to leave," he whispered. "I tried to come back, but I was told Grace had moved away. I searched for years. Then I got sick. Lost everything. This ring was your mother's. She told me to give it to you on your wedding day. I failed her, and I failed you." For the first time, Amara's eyes filled with tears, but she turned away before they could fall. "You found your way back because I'm rich, not because you're sorry." He dropped to his knees, his voice breaking. "No, Amara, I came because I'm dying." The world seemed to go silent. A soft breeze brushed past. The sun flickered between the clouds, as if even the heavens paused to listen. The camera lingers on the ring, glinting faintly in the sunlight, dust floating in the air, his hands trembling. Amara stood frozen, her heart torn in half. "You don't get to die as my father," she whispered, voice trembling with both anger and grief. "You gave up that right." Driving away later, the city lights blurred through her tears. "He left me to build another life," her inner voice said softly. "I built mine without him. So why does it still hurt?" That night, she stood at her mother's grave, moonlight glowing over red African soil. The wind whispered softly through the trees. "Mama," she murmured, "he says he's dying. What do I do?" In the silence, she remembered her mother's last words. "Forgive him only when your soul is free." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I'm not free yet," she whispered. The camera pans out, her figure standing alone under the moonlight, the wind carrying her pain into the night. The screen fades to black, words appear. The sun had begun to sink beneath the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the skyline of Lagos as Amara stood silently by her window. The reflection staring back at her was no longer the little girl who cried for her father, it was the woman who had built an empire out of pain. Her company, Amani Tech, had just been valued at $200 million. Cameras flashed, investors called her a visionary, and newspapers named her the future of African innovation. But deep inside her chest, a storm she thought had died years ago began to awaken. Her assistant entered quietly, looking uncertain. "Madam," she said, her voice trembling, "there's someone here to see you. He says he's your father." The pen in Amara's hand froze midair. For a second, the world went still, her heart, her breath, her thoughts. She tried to sound calm, but her voice shook as she replied, "Tell him I'm not available." Before her assistant could close the door, a tall man stepped inside, dressed in an expensive suit that screamed pride, not love. His eyes scanned the room with a greedy sparkle, and then they landed on her. "So," he said, his tone heavy with arrogance, "this is what my daughter has built. Impressive. I always knew you had my blood." Amara's hands clenched into fists. "You left me at 2 years old," she said, her voice cold. "You built another family. Why are you here now?" Her father's smirk deepened as he took a step closer. "Because everything you have belongs to me too. I am your father." The air grew heavy. The city's distant thunder echoed, like fate knocking on the door. For years, Amara had dreamed of this day. Maybe he'd come back to say sorry. Maybe he'd be proud of her. But no, he came for money. Not forgiveness. Memories flashed before her eyes. Her mother's worn hands selling clothes by the roadside, the nights they went to bed hungry. The cold rain dripping through the roof as she asked, "Mama, will Daddy ever come back?" And her mother would whisper softly, "The lion that abandons its cub will one day return hungry." Those words echoed now painfully prophetic. Amara's voice dropped low. "You didn't come for me. You came for money." Her father crossed his arms, unfazed. "You wouldn't have anything without my name. You are a Nawakari. My blood made you." Amara gave a hollow laugh. "Blood doesn't make family. Loyalty does." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. Her father's face twisted in pride and desperation. "I gave you life. You owe me half." She looked at him, her voice trembling between anger and sorrow. "You gave me life, and took away love." Silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of rain tapping against a glass. She walked to her desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out an envelope that looked years old. "Before Mama died, she left this letter for you," Amara said quietly. "She waited for you, but you never came." She handed him the letter and stepped back. Her father opened it with shaky hands. Inside, her mother's words were raw and filled with truth. "To the man who abandoned his daughter, you left her hungry. But hunger made her strong. You left her barefoot, but the road taught her courage. If you ever return, know that forgiveness is not yours to demand, but hers to give." His eyes welled up, his voice breaking. I didn't know she wrote this." Amara's tone was sharp, cold. "You didn't know because you never cared to ask." He tried to compose himself, forcing a smile. "We can fix this, Amara. You have power. I have wisdom. Together." But she cut him off, her voice like a blade. "You have greed, not wisdom." She turned away, staring at the city lights beyond the rain-streaked window. "I built this company with nothing but my mother's prayers and my sleepless nights. Every wall, every code, every success came from pain you caused." Her father stepped forward, desperation cracking through his pride. "You can't erase me." She turned slowly, her eyes burning with emotion. "I already did, when I was 2. A flash of lightning split the sky behind her, casting her silhouette in silver light. It felt like the universe had just witnessed her reclaiming her story. Security entered silently as she gestured toward the door. "Show him out." Her father paused, eyes glistening. "One day," he muttered, "you'll regret this." Amara whispered back, her voice trembling but strong. "Maybe, but not today." When the door closed behind him, she stood still, her body trembling as years of bottled-up emotion poured out. Tears finally fell. The city lights flickered beyond the glass, and for a moment, the whole world seemed quiet. She turned toward her mother's photograph, hanging on the wall, her voice soft and full of release. "Mama, I finally closed the chapter. You couldn't." Her phone buzzed, a message from the company board. "Congratulations, CEO. The New York investors confirmed your $200 million valuation." She stared at it blankly. The success that once felt like everything now seemed empty without peace. Amara took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and looked at her reflection in the window. No longer the abandoned child, but the woman who had survived it all. "Success means nothing," she murmured, "if it costs your peace." The rain slowed outside, as if the heavens themselves were calming down. She smiled faintly, whispering one last African proverb her mother used to say: "No matter how long the night, the morning will come." As the camera slowly zoomed out, the reflection of Amara's face overlapped with her mother's photos, symbolizing healing, forgiveness, and strength. The narrator's voice faded in softly. "A tree that grows in pain gives the sweetest fruit." Amara's story reminds us, forgiveness is not about forgetting the past, it's about freeing yourself from it. The music swelled, warm and emotional, as the screen faded to black.